Yo, what's up YouTube? Today I'm back with another video, and today we're going to be reacting to Magneto versus Tetsuo, Marvel versus Akira. I think that's how you pronounce that. Hey, it's going to be interesting. Let's get into it.
Magneto, Marvel's mutant master of magnetism.
Tetsuo Shima, Akira's telekinetic terror of Neo-Tokyo.
These two maestros of kinesis have ignited revolution not just in their worlds, but also the very mediums they exist within.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out
This
who
is
will
an old
win
anime
a
because
death
I have
battle.
no idea who is Tetsuo. I have no idea.
In the short duration
Magneto.
of modern civilization,
I know
likely
who's
no
Magneto.
conflict
Come on.
tested humanity
I'm a
more
Marvel fan.
than the Second World War. In the primary Marvel 616 universe, this fact is no different, especially to the Eisenhart family and their only son.
You may know him as Magnus, Eric, or Max, but if you ask him, he'd say his true name is Magneto.
As a Jewish child in Nazi Germany, Magneto's early life was, well, extremely traumatic.
Even after eventually escaping certain death with his future wife, misfortune always followed wherever he went.
Thanks to his unexpected mutation called the X gene, the mark of a superhuman. After settling down in Russia with his new family, the KGB quickly found out about this quirk.
Damn.
So they burned his house down with his own daughter inside.
Oh my
Naturally,
god.
he snapped and killed them all. I don't blame him. I'd do that too. Too
Me
bad
too,
his wife
yeah.
didn't get it and ditched him though. But that's when Magneto made a choice. Since humans hurt
He
him his
ditched
entire
you?
life, he'd do the same to them in the name of mutants everywhere.
At first, Magneto turned to the telepathic powerhouse Charles Xavier and his fledgling team of heroes. But his new friend wasn't thrilled with the idea of, subjugating the human race. So, Magneto formed his own team of mutants, the Brotherhood.
Yeah, he did.
Magneto can telekinetically move, bend, and reshape any metal he's aware of. Bullets, vehicles, buildings, you name it. Even himself when he manipulates his personal magnetic field for flight and energy barriers.
Magnetic kinesis is far more versatile than it would appear at first glance. The blood in your body has iron in it. The air has traces of lead and mercury. Whole mountains are lined with metallic ore. The Earth itself is surrounded by a literal magnetic field.
So many toys for Maggie to play
cool,
with.
damn.
He can detect magnetic fields at such a huge range.
So he
can
could,
even
like, move the
pinpoint
Earth if
Earth's
he wanted
magnetic
to,
rays
or
while
whatever.
stranded on a
That's
planet
cool.
in another galaxy. And guess what? He was able to use those rays to pull himself back to Earth in a single day.
His range is even more remarkable than that. Did you know that in 1820, physicist Hans Christian Ørsted discovered that electric currents, like those of electrons and protons and atoms, produce their own magnetic fields? Magneto can
Yeah.
fine-tune his control to affect these very subatomic particles.
Damn.
Dummy here will illustrate such a particle, with positively charged protons and negative electrons.
My life is as meaningless as an atom is small.
So what you're
damn.
saying is Magneto
Poor
could,
robot.
like, yank one of those out.
Correct, potentially changing an atom's entire chemical makeup. However, neutrons do not have a charge, and without the ability to adjust those to accommodate the change in atomic mass, the atom would become unstable and
Finally!
do that.
Wow. Okay.
Magneto's violent protest against humankind clashed with Xavier's peaceful reconciliation, not unlike
it
the
did,
ideologies taught by Malcolm X and Dr. King, by whom Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were inspired. Magneto would spend most of his career pushing Xavier away to prove his philosophies superior, which meant doing battle with Xavier's school of thought, quite literally.
And Baldy's mind powers are no joke, but thanks to Magneto's psionic repelling helmet, Professor X couldn't touch him. Magneto survived Cyclops' earth-splitting lasers, absorbed the power of the sun to battle Iron Man, ripped the adamantium skeleton out of
What?
Wolverine's body, and
Yeah, I
even
knew
taken
about
on
that, yeah.
Hercules himself. You know, the Greek legend, Zero to
Hercules?
Hero,
Ain't no
the
way he
guy
beat
who held up
Hercules,
the
right?
skies of Olympus for Atlas? That Hercules.
Seems sensible. Magneto once used the Earth's magnetic field to overwhelm the Phoenix Force, which can effortlessly destroy planets,
Really?
let alone far more.
The
Hell, if he really wanted to, Magneto could totally just fling the Earth off its axis.
It's
Yeah.
entirely possible he may
wanted
have
to.
eventually resorted to just that. Over time, it became clear Magneto's war was doing far more harm than good for his fellow mutants, however well-intentioned he may have been at first.
Luckily, he later realized he was going a bit overboard and began reevaluating his perspective. Good for you, Mags. It's really tough to recognize when you're the baddie.
It took time and patience not just from Magneto, but also from his peers. Yet eventually, his path was completely changed. He even became a leader for Xavier's X-Men.
But don't let his new goody two-shoes ways fool you. Whenever there's a threat to mutants, you can bet Magneto will be there to annihilate it. Forever.
Yes, sir.
By any means necessary.
Magneto. Yes, sir. Come on, man.
This episode of Death Battle is
Turn him
sponsored
up.
by HelloFresh.
With
Hello
HelloFresh, you get
Fresh.
farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep.
Skip trips to the grocery store and count on Hello over Tokyo.
That's enough.
And 9 hours later, began the Third World War.
Welcome to 2030, or 2019 if you're watching the anime. The buildings are taller, the motorcycles are cooler, and the future is brighter. Oh, wait, not really. If you find yourself in the
Yeah, that's a
capsule
trash
gang,
future. I
you'll
was like,
meet
what the hell?
Shotaro Kaneda,
The hell is that
who's like
future?
your textbook
What the
anime
hell?
Chad. Gets the ladies, beats the baddies, and cops the sweetest rigs. Man, I need to get me one of those.
And then there's the little brother of the group, Kaneda's best friend, Tetsuo Shima. He's, well,
The exact opposite. A total wimp. As a kid,
Damn.
Tetsuo in his college thesis forehead got bullied
5'4",
for being
and
the
he's
new kid at
19
the
years
orphanage.
old.
That's until Big
He's
Bro Kaneda
103 pounds. Wow.
came to the rescue.
Eventually, the two went to vocational school together and formed the Capsules. But Tetsuo was never satisfied with Kaneda being the leader of the pack. Tetsuo desired more than anything to be top dog.
Oh, I can just see that monkey's paw curling in my mind. Or that kid walking down the street. Shit, Tetsuo, watch out, you're gonna... That
Damn.
definitely should have killed him. But since it didn't, Tetsuo earned himself a ticket to military confinement. Turns out they had
What?
an under-the-table program for developing child superweapons.
In the same program that
Oh my
backfired
God,
and
what
jump-started
the
the
hell?
war, Tetsuo became Japan's Esper number 41.
He may not have been a natural with bikes, baddies, or babes, but this telekinesis stuff
Oh my
hit
God.
different. He walked out of
The
that hospital
gore.
ward effortlessly flying, reading minds, and blending people into strawberry jelly. Tetsuo got what he wanted. Power, along with the hunger for more of it.
A hunger that used to only be satiated with drugs. And not just any gateway drug, pills so potent that a single gram of the stuff could kill you.
So, pretty
What?
bad. Kinda reminds
has
me of
like a
college days,
handful?
huh? Snow wizard.
Them speaking?
Tetsuo's main ability is his constantly increasing psionic energy, growing more and more powerful over time. This is due to Tetsuo's link to, quote, the memories of the universe, end quote. It's weird.
Either way, Tetsuo leveled up from lame gangbuster to certified badass. This guy is a walking natural disaster. His telekinesis can shake the planet, easily cause earthquakes over a dozen miles below the surface. He can summon psychic barriers for defense and crush foes with friggin' gravity wells. He can dart around as a literal bolt of lightning or even teleport in an instant.
Tetsuo's telekinesis can be so precise he can target and obliterate specific parts of the body.
Oh
He
my
can heal
God.
severe wounds quickly, but even after losing a whole limb, he can craft a new one using whatever nearby materials he wants.
With
Nearby
these powers,
materials.
Top Dog
Whoa.
Kaneda didn't matter anymore. Who needed his approval? Tetsuo tasted that good shit and he was hooked. And when he found out another Esper named Akira could deal him even more power, he rampaged through Tokyo to find him.
And this is where
What?
versions of the story differ.
Ahem. Spoilers ahoy!
You may be familiar with the 1988 animation, where Akira had been dissected for research. However, in the original manga, Akira is not only alive, but even more powerful.
Once that little runt nuked Tokyo, Tetsuo would erect the Great Tokyo Empire with Akira and himself as its leaders. But he ended up just abusing the position for endless sex and inflating his ego.
With Kaneda's rebellion at his front door, Tetsuo took a turn for the worse. He had to fight.
Tetsuo's defeated other powerful espers, dodged light-speed lasers, and jumped to the moon faster than anyone could blink, and then punched a big old hole in it. And if you ask, Boomerstick, wouldn't that mess up gravity on Earth? You would be right, because it totally did. Screwed the planet, I guess. Stupid moon.
What the
Which brings
hell?
us to Tetsuo's folly. His abuse of his powers spiraled until he lost control. Unfortunately for Kaneda's rebellion, this did not make Tetsuo an easier enemy to confront. Exactly opposite, in fact, as Tetsuo painfully mutated into an unstoppable behemoth.
Yep,
Damn,
that's not totally
oh my
disturbing
God,
at
that's
all.
disgusting.
I'm happy to say the
What the
manga's version
hell?
is even more disturbing.
I mean, I know babies can be monsters, but that's a whole nother level.
It is
What?
pain incarnate. I can relate. Another Esper described Tetsuo's struggle as ego death, which has multiple definitions, but in this case is likely symbolic of the version attributed to drug use.
Yeah, it's described as a shedding of one's own identity, like how LSD can emulate a wild out-of-body experience, and you come back with a new perspective. Though this is maybe a little more extreme. In fact, you could say Tetsuo was shedding his human body to play with the powers of a god.
I wish I
That's the
could
powers
shed
of
out
God,
of
that's
my
kinda
body.
disgusting.
But in this case, Tetsuo going full out of body meant becoming a mound of raw, ever-expanding energy.
Which almost nuked Tokyo all over again. And those explosions are not normal. I would know.
Top scientists in both the manga and animated versions describe these explosions as births of a new universe.
A new
Given
universe.
its properties of nuclear
What?
fusion and proton collapse, Tetsuo's mutated form was likely creating a Big Bang.
You know, the thing that
Big
started
bang.
our whole
What the
universe?
hell?
Right. In the manga, it instead ended the Espers and their abilities once and for all. A testament that humankind is unsuited to wield the powers of the divine.
Though the anime's even more trippy. Thanks to Akira and his buddies, Tetsuo got so high on ego death, he ascended time-space to become god of a new universe. Kind
God
of worth it, right?
universe.
And yet, Canada kept his empire up in his honor, now as the Great Akira Empire. Ironically, in death, Tetsuo finally received the attention he so desperately craved.
No, he did. Oh, he did.
This episode of
I'm
Death
going
Battle
with
is sponsored by
Magneto.
Bespoke Post.
Take your
So-
summer adventures to the
Yeah.
next level with Bespoke Post and their new seasonal lineup of must.
Time for
I'ma
a
go with
death
Magneto.
battle!
Tetsuo is a demon, but hopefully Magneto could.
Even in Japan,
you know,
they fail to recognize our superiority.
Wrong country, Grandpa! You're an Akira turf now! You're dead meat!
Impudent child!
impudent
The hell are you
child.
calling child? I make the rules around here!
Okay. Nice. Bop. Dodge. Swing spot. Hits him. Interesting.
You're wasting my time. Parlor tricks for the master of magnetism.
Okay. Nice. Nice. He's not winning, bud. Yeah.
I'll kill you! Your history, scumbag!
Oh my god. Come on, Magneto. Wow. Yeah, he's way faster than Magneto. He's powerful. Come on. He's more powerful.
I believe I've had enough tantrums to last a lifetime.
Come on, Magneto. God, this the God form. His out of body experience. Yuck. I think Magneto loses.
Listen, welcome, I'll handle this on my own! Not weak!
Yeah, he doesn't have his helmet.
Hurts. Help me.
GG's. Oh, yeah. Oh. Okay.
Poor child.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Ow. Wait. Oh, Magneto wins. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, GG's. Oh yeah, GG's. Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
You are welcome.
Tetsuo!
I thought Magneto was gonna lose at the end. One.
I'm never doing that again.
Tetsuo's esoteric telekinesis and other bizarre abilities certainly gave Magneto pause, but the Master of Magnetism had greater control over his foe.
The numbers don't lie. Tetsuo cratering the moon was insane, but Magneto punched Iron Man with the force of the sun. And while Tetsuo jumped all the way to the moon, Magneto could move across galaxies.
Against Tetsuo in his human form, Magneto obviously
okay.
held a sizable advantage in power and speed.
But stats aren't all that matters. With his precise telekinesis, Tetsuo could just target Magneto's organs. GG, right?
Yes, but Magneto had similar skills. There are very few substances on Earth that lack any metallic or magnetic component, and Magneto is very creative with his powers.
Which he could use to predict Tetsuo's teleportation and even shut down his telekinesis. And his scraps with Xavier prove he could handle Tetsuo's messing with his head. The biggest challenge for Magneto was when Tetsuo's gross mutated power came into play.
Especially given how the detonations from this form were compared to that of a Big Bang.
Big Bang, yeah.
Although the authenticity of that observation is questionable. In truth, the Big Bang was a sudden expansion of matter on a universal scale, whereas Tetsuo's explosions are more akin to nuclear blasts, clearly intentional given the post-war symbolism of the Akira story.
The whole creating an alternate universe bit wasn't even part of the original material, so we can't exactly call it canon.
But let's just say the comparison wasn't superfluous. Let's say Tetsuo did in fact cause a Big Bang capable of creating or destroying an entire universe, alternate or otherwise.
Turns out Magneto had the tools to stop that too. Helmet Head could overpower Hercules, who was strong enough to hold up the skies of Olympus, which is literally heaven and an alternate universe.
This doesn't necessarily mean Magneto could easily destroy a universe with a snap of his fingers, but it does prove he can match a similar level of power. And context is everything. Tetsuo's Big Bang eruption specifically exhibited proton collapse, meaning its atomic structure was primarily an unstable mess of neutrons and electrons. And Magneto has detected and commanded unstable electrons before. This means Magneto had every means available to take control over this Big Bang.
Damn, and I thought he could
That is
just move
interesting.
some metal around. It's like the question posed by some of the greatest prophets of our time. Fucking magnets. How do they even work?
Magneto's astonishing power and intelligent control over all things magnetism triumphed in the end.
Tetsuo pushed his luck, but didn't have the metal to pull off the win.
Wow.
The winner is Magneto.
Magneto. Let's go, boy. Come on, I was with Magneto.
Thank
from
you
the
for watching
beginning.
this episode. If you'd like to
Come
directly
on.
support the whole Death Battle team, click that
Alright,
join
who's
button.
next?
and
Who's
consider-
next? Who's next? Who's next? Who is next? Okay, Hercules. Okay. June. Okay. That could be interesting. Hey, if you like the video, subscribe, comment. See you guys later, man.